I'll do what I must if I'm bold in real time. A refugee, I'll be paroled in real time. Each syllable sucked under waves of our earth, the funeral love comes to hold in real time. Please afterwards empty my pockets of keys. It's hell in the city of gold in real time. God's angels again are for Satan forlorn. Salvation was bought, but sin sold in real time. I heard the incessant dissolving of silk. I felt my heart growing so old in real time. Her heart must be ash where her body lies burned. What hope lets your hands rake the cold in real time? Now, friend, the beloved has stolen your words. Read slowly, the plot will unfold in real time. This poem that you just heard is an excerpt fittingly titled In Real Time. It was written by a man named Agha Shahid Ali and is in a form that you've probably never heard before, the Ghazal. The Ghazal is an ancient style of Arabic poetry with origins as far back as the 6th century on the Arabic Peninsula. For context, that means ghazals reached parts of the Middle East before the religion of Islam and even the Arabic language itself. However, the ghazal did not achieve much widespread popularity until the mid-8th century in Persia. It was then that the rules of the ghazal, in its truest modern form, were developed. Prior to its spread in Persia, ghazals had only 2 primary rules. 1, every poem must be a series of couplets, and 2, every couplet should end in a repeating word or phrase. And that was pretty much it. In Persia, however, the style was refined even further, adding 5 more conventions. 3, the word before each refrain should rhyme. 4, each line should have the same number of syllables. 5, each line should have the same meter. 6, the first line should also end with the repeating word or phrase. And 7, the final couplet should include the poet's name. Let's take a look at how these rules apply to the poem from earlier. Rule 1. Every poem should be a series of couplets. Yep. Rule 2. Every couplet should end in a repeating word or phrase. Bingo. Rule 3. The word before each refrain should rhyme. Bold, paroled, hold, gold. Yep. Rule 4. Every line should have the same number of syllables. Yes, each has 11. Feel free to count. Rule 5, each line should have the same meter. This one's a bit more difficult to see, but it is true. Every line in this poem is in what's called amphibrachic tetrameter, which looks a little bit like this. If you don't know what that is, don't worry, I only learned about it 15 minutes before writing this script. Basically, all that's important is that each line follows the same pattern of stressed and unstressed syllables. I'll do what I must if I'm bold in real time. Ba-bum, ba-ba-bum, ba-ba-bum, ba-ba-bum. A refugee, I'll be paroled in real time. Each syllable sucked under waves of our earth. Ba-bum, ba-ba-bum, ba-ba-bum, ba-ba-bum. Okay, I hope you get the idea. Rule 6. The first line should also end with the refrain. Yep. Rule 7. The final couplet should include the poet's name. In this case, some form of Agha Shahid Ali. And, it looks like we're missing that one. No worries though. Contemporary ghazals rarely check off all 7 rules. Conventionally, all that you really need in order to call something a ghazal are the first 3 rules. a series of couplets, each ending with a rhyme, followed by the repeating word or phrase. If you can check off all 7 rules, though, that is known as a true ghazal. And in ancient Persia, true ghazals were the most popular form. The rigidity of following all 7 rules was an important aspect of the ghazal. Along with these new formal conventions, it was also at this time in Persia that the thematic conventions of ghazals emerged. The style had almost always been used to convey some kind of love or endearment, but the most prominent Persian ghazal poets began to mix themes of longing and loss, as well as references to nature, time, or some sort of higher power. The conflict between descriptions of suffering and the descriptions of endearment are very important to the historic form of the ghazal. Another convention of classical ghazals is the disconnectedness of each couplet. While each couplet is meant to be similar in tone and theme, there was rarely any literal or definite connections between each. For example, let's return to the first 2 couplets of In Real Time. The first describes being a refugee and parole, while the second seems to describe syllables, waves, and a funeral. Obviously, they all tie into the themes of the poem, but there's very little, if any, literal connection between the subjects themselves. These conventions became hugely popular in the Middle East, and the new form of the ghazal quickly spread out of Persia to the rest of the Arabic-speaking world. By the 1400s, the style of poetry had even jumped to several other languages in northern Africa and southern Asia. Flash forward to the 1900s, and the ghazal had spread to nearly 50 countries and was being written in over 10 different languages across 3 continents. However, considering the fact that you're watching this video in English, you likely don't see your region of the world represented. There had been a few minor attempts to introduce the ghazal into the West, but to very little avail. You see, major problems arose when Westerners attempted to translate the ghazal into their own languages. It was nearly impossible to translate a ghazal without losing the tone, rhyme, repetition, or subject matter, and often the entire meaning of the poem as a result. For this reason, despite attempts from Spanish, German, and English scholars, translations failed completely. Really, the only way to introduce the ghazal form to a new language was to build your own from the ground up. The first attempts at creating new English ghazals were also complete failures. For example, this is a ghazal from poet Adrian Rich, written in 1968. I mean, I guess it has couplets, but apart from that, there is really nothing about this poem that makes it a ghazal. In fact, the English ghazals of this time period were so bad that they were often referred to as bastard ghazals, because they really weren't ghazals at all. At the same time in the 60s, however, at the University of Kashmir in India, a young man was studying ghazals in the language of Urdu, developing the skills that would eventually allow him to bring the ghazal properly into popularity with the West. His name? Agha Shahid Ali. That's right, there's a reason that I had to use one of his poems as an example. When his family immigrated to the United States in 1976, Shahid, age 27, had already immersed himself heavily in the world of English poetry, having published his very first collection of English poems a few years prior. At this time, however, Shahid had yet to get involved with the English Ghazal. Instead, he continued to publish more free-form poetry for the next decade or so. It wasn't until the 1990s that Shahid rediscovered his adoration for the Urdu ghazals that he had enjoyed in India, and Shahid began to immerse himself in the world of the English Ghazal. By the 90s, the English Ghazal was still in its infancy, but had come a long way from its bastard origins. Poets like Diane Averill and John Hollander had written English ghazals that were, well, actually ghazals. Agha Shahid Ali took it upon himself to highlight these new, real ghazals by creating an anthology for ghazals written in the English language. While Shahid was compiling ghazals from across the English-speaking world, he began to notice some fairly noticeable differences from the traditional ghazals that he was used to. The truth was that the vast majority of English ghazals were still extremely distant in both form and theme from the ones that had become so popular in South Asia and the Middle East. For this reason, Shahid began to experiment with writing his own English ghazals, trying to stay as true to the traditional form as possible. These ghazals would pop up as published collections throughout the 90s. In 2000, Ravishing Disunity's Real Ghazals in English was published, the very first anthology for English ghazals ever created. The book highlighted a number of English poets who had stayed true to the traditional poem. A few years later, in 2003, a book of Shahid's own ghazals was published in a book named Call Me Ishmael Tonight. Unfortunately, Shahid did not get to see his book published, and did not see the incredible reactions that many of his ghazals received. Agha Shahid Ali died over a year before Call Me Ishmael was published. While he may not have been alive to see the majority of it, his ghazals permanently altered the way that the form was viewed in Western society. Shahid's work brought the English ghazal from a very niche poetic form to extreme popularity. While his early work had already made him a very popular poet, Shahid is mainly remembered for his ghazals and their unique ability to be incredibly creative while still adhering to the strict poetic form and thematic conventions of the poetic tradition. He brought ghazals completely into the Western mainstream. Since Shahid's popularization of the ghazal in English-speaking countries, the form has spread all across the West and Europe. There are now ghazals being written in Spanish and German and French, bringing the ghazals to a truly worldwide audience. And while it wouldn't be fair to give him all the credit, a significant portion of this worldwide popularity can be traced back to one English-speaking poet from Kashmir, Agha Shahid Ali.